conference room was packed, a mix of senior partners, department heads, and a few high-stake clients who had flown in just for this quarterly strategy review. I had rehearsed my part of the presentation all weekend. This wasn't just about updates. It was my chance to introduce a shift in how we'd handle our global accounts, a move that could cut costs by about 18% and increase responsiveness by over 30%. I stood up, clicked the remote, and the first slide lit up the screen. Behind me. As we enter Q4, I began, we need to pivot from reactive problem-solving to predictive strategy. That means restructuring some of our communication pipelines. And then it happened. From the corner of my eye, I saw him, Noah, my assistant, lean back in his chair and roll his eyes. Not just a blink-and-you-miss-it movement. No. It was slow, exaggerated, and paired with a slight shake of his head as he looked toward Marissa, another project manager. She smirked. He smirked back. They weren't even trying to hide it. I paused for half a second, not enough for anyone to notice, but just long enough to let the moment register in my body. Then I continued. And that's why I believe this new structure doesn't just serve the team. It protects the company's long-term vision. I finished the rest of the presentation without a hitch. Questions were asked. Data was defended. People nodded. A few even clapped. But the heat was rising under my skin. This wasn't the first time Noah had crossed a line. But it was the first time he'd done it this publicly, this blatantly, in front of clients, in front of the board, in front of me. After the meeting ended, I stayed behind to close the laptop and gather my notes. Noah walked past me. Didn't say a word. No apology. No acknowledgement. I watched his back as he exited the room, laughing softly at something on his phone. My hands stayed perfectly still. But inside, a decision had been made. That afternoon, I opened the Notes app on my phone and typed just 3 words. He's not safe. Then I opened my calendar and blocked 20 minutes the next morning. Meeting with HR. Not because I wanted revenge. Not because I was emotional. Because leaders don't react, they respond. And I was about to respond professionally, strategically, and in a way he would never forget. Noah had joined the company 8 months ago. A strong resume, fluent in 3 languages. Came highly recommended by one of the younger partners who spoke about him like he was some kind of tech-savvy wunderkind. You'll love him. They'd said, sharp, fast, ambitious. He'll make your life easier. And for the first few weeks he did. He was punctual, efficient, seemed eager to learn, but slowly, like a stain spreading under the surface. Something shifted. He stopped taking notes in meetings. He'd accidentally forget to confirm calendar invites. He started showing up 5 minutes late, then 10. And worst of all, he had this way of speaking to me in front of others that was always just on the edge of disrespectful. Never quite enough to call out in the moment, but enough that everyone in the room would glance around, eyebrows raised, wondering if I noticed. I noticed. I just didn't show it. What Noah didn't know, what most people in that office didn't know, is that I don't believe in managing chaos by confrontation. I believe in systems, in process, in documentation. So while he thought he was getting away with microaggressions and subtle insubordination, I was building something, an archive. The folder on my desktop was innocuously named Follow-Up Notes. Inside it were screenshots of emails he forgot to send. Meeting minutes, he neglected. Client feedback forms where his name came up. Never directly negative, but never positive either. And I wasn't the only one noticing. One day, our CFO stopped me after a presentation. Hey, she said casually. Is your assistant new? I nodded. He seems confident. The way she said it made the word feel like a warning. Confident, I repeated. Yes. We're still adjusting. Then came the project file incident. I had asked Noah to compile a report for a pitch to a multi-million-dollar account. It was simple. Timeline, budget estimates, competitor benchmarks. He said he'd have it ready by Friday. Friday morning, 9 a.m. I walked into my office. No file, saw 15. I pinged him. 15, no response. 30. I got a Slack message. Hey, totally forgot. Can I get it to you after lunch? That day, I didn't respond. I sent the pitch without his input. The client signed the contract anyway. And that night, I added another entry to the folder. So when he rolled his eyes in that meeting, that moment wasn't isolated. It was the final drop in a very full glass, the culmination of months of subtle sabotage and unchecked arrogance. But here's the part he really didn't know. I had already spoken with HR, twice, the first time, just exploratory. The second time, with documentation, they told me, whenever you're ready, we're ready. I wasn't yet. I wanted to be sure. Now, I was sure. I didn't need drama. I didn't need to raise my voice. I didn't even need him to know it was coming. He had written his own ending. All I had to do was sign it. The next major meeting came exactly 12 days after the eye roll. This time, it wasn't just internal. 2 of our biggest international clients were flying in to hear our projections for the next fiscal year. The entire executive team would be present. The kind of meeting where impressions matter, where reputations are either solidified or silently dismantled. I knew this would be the moment, but Noah didn't. He arrived 10 minutes late, again, with coffee in hand and that familiar half-apology smile. He slid into his chair across the room, checked his phone, and glanced my way with the kind of nonchalance that only comes from someone who thinks they're untouchable. I didn't look at him. Instead, I addressed the room. Thank you all for being here, I began. Before we begin the main presentation, I've asked my assistant to walk us through the preliminary data sets and trend forecasts. Noah blinked. I could see the flicker of panic. Subtle, but there. He hadn't prepared anything. Because I hadn't asked him to. But now, in front of senior leadership, clients, and the finance team, I was handing him the floor. Go ahead, Noah. There was a pause. A silence so thick you could hear his breath catch. He stood, cleared his throat, opened his laptop, and realized he had nothing. No charts, no projections. Just an empty spreadsheet and an inbox full of unread reminders. I think we can circle back to that, he mumbled. I tilted my head slightly. No, it's all right. I've prepared a backup set. Just in case. The projector switched to my slides. Clean, precise, fully developed. I delivered the entire analysis seamlessly. Every figure, every insight, every solution. The clients nodded, impressed. One of them even whispered, "Sharp presentation." When I finished, the room applauded lightly. A professional, quiet approval. Then came the moment I had scripted in my head more times than I'd like to admit. As a final note, I said, turning toward the table where Noah sat stiffly, we'll be welcoming a new executive assistant on Monday. I'm confident they'll be a great fit. I didn't look at him when I said it. I didn't have to. The message landed with precision. He froze. Then slowly, his eyes dropped to the table, no questions. No protests, just silence. The same silence he had used so many times to undermine me, now turned back on him with surgical force. After the meeting, one of the partners approached me privately. You handled that brilliantly, he said. Didn't see it coming. You weren't supposed to, I replied, because true power doesn't shout. It signs the check and closes the door behind you. The office was quiet the next morning. Noah's desk was empty. His nameplate had been removed, his chair slightly pushed out as if he had left in a rush, or had never really belonged there in the first place. I had asked HR to keep it simple. No dramatic confrontation, no emotional goodbyes. Just a brief standard conversation and a polite handover of his exit packet. The email confirming his separation from the company had already been sent at 8:00 a.m. By 8:03, I received a Slack from someone on the marketing team. Saw the update. Honestly, about time. I didn't reply. Instead, I walked into my office, closed the door, and pulled out a slim black folder. Inside was the payroll approval form for the month. Nothing special, just columns of names, positions, and numbers. I scanned the page until I reached his name. Noah C. Myers, assistant, final payout. There it was, the number he would receive. One last check, one final reminder. I reached for my pen, clicked it open, and signed next to his line. The ink glided smoothly. My signature was steady. That was it. After everything, the eye rolls, the smirks, the micro-sabotage, this was the only reaction he would get. A signature. Not a speech, not a warning, not a raised voice. Because people like Noah thrive on conflict. They look for chaos to hide behind. They push boundaries to see if you'll flinch. But I don't flinch. I document, I wait. And then I sign. I looked out the window as the city moved below. Cars merging, people pacing, meetings beginning. Somewhere out there, Noah was probably rewriting the story in his head, telling himself it wasn't fair, that I had overreacted, that I couldn't take a joke. He could spin it however he wanted. But facts don't flinch either. The paper was signed, the folder was closed, and his seat was already filled. That afternoon, I hosted another team meeting. Smaller this time, internal only. I introduced the new assistant, a quiet but competent woman named Julia, who had come from logistics. No theatrics. Just a calm start. Someone made a comment. She seems sharp, like she knows this place already. I smiled. That's the plan. Later that evening, as I packed up to leave, I passed by the printer. A single page sat in the tray. I picked it up. It was a copy of Noah's final check confirmation. I folded it neatly and placed it back down without a word. Letting go has never felt so professional. He rolled his eyes like I was invisible. I signed his final check like he was already gone.